I just wanted to kind of see like if you were in good spirits.
This is like a box of hell.
Man, let us keep it real. Lil Durk has never been shy about the toll jail life takes on him. And now, brand new footage has surfaced that's got his entire fan base on edge. The clips show Durk and one of his homies living under rough, almost unbearable conditions. And people are whispering that his enemies might be circling closer than ever, even behind bars. The viral footage is spreading like wildfire, and honestly, it paints a disturbing picture.
I've been good, man. Mentally, spiritually. I've been on top of my...
Durk is currently stuck inside MDC Los Angeles, one of the most notorious detention centers in the country. This isn't just some regular lockup. It is a place that has been blasted for years over everything from inmate suicides, rampant violence, and contraband smuggling to guards so corrupt that even judges have publicly labeled the facility barbaric. Imagine that, a federal judge calling the place unfit for human beings. Yet that's where Durk is spending his days. For someone like him, that means every moment is a gamble.
This is like a box of hell. We don't get no news, no talk, no nothing. If you don't call or somebody send it to you on the computer, it's a wrap.
It is not just about dodging his ops. Durk has made enough enemies over the years to fill a stadium, but also surviving an environment that seems designed to break men down. And that's exactly why fans are shook. Every new image, every new video that leaks out feels like a reminder that Durk isn't just fighting a case. He's fighting for his survival on the inside. One of the most circulated pieces floating around online is a recorded phone call between Durk and DJ Academics. In it, you hear Durk's signature calm composure, the same energy that carried him through some of the darkest storms in his career. He doesn't sound broken, but if you listen closely, beneath that toughness is a man wrestling with the possibility that he could be facing a future where freedom isn't guaranteed. A man facing the cold truth that his legacy might have to be carried on from a cell.
I ain't really on too much of nothing, bro. I don't even be thinking about the outside.
I see your father, like, he was speaking about you, and it brought me back to the conversation we had.
And the stakes couldn't be higher. He's cut off from his shorties, from India Royale, his queen, and from the empire he spent over a decade building brick by brick. That phone call gets heavy when Durk starts thanking everyone for their prayers, for the love that still reaches him behind the walls, while at the same time keeping it brutally honest about how soul-crushing federal detention really is. He makes it clear, the outside support is his lifeline, because inside, it's nothing but steel doors and silence. But even in that silence, Durk is changing.
Because if I get home for him, I'm gonna kill his kids, man.
Stop playing with me. You just say if you get home before him, you gonna kill his kids. Come on, gang.
It is what it is.
Come on, gang. You been in jail
I hope he get home.
100,000
I'm
years.
praying. I need him to get home.
Come on, gang.
He's been leaning harder into his Muslim faith, and according to him, that's one of the only things keeping him steady. He's learning Arabic from other inmates, he's locked into prayer, and he's diving deeper into religious study. I ain't really on too much of nothing, bro, he says, a simple line, but one that speaks volumes. This spiritual awakening mirrors what we've been seeing in his music and moves lately, where Durk's tried to balance that gritty street credibility with messages of peace and community uplift. Even from behind bars, reports say he's still pushing the mission of his Neighborhood Heroes Foundation, using whatever resources he has to give back, even though some partnerships have already been severed thanks to these federal charges. And Durk ain't going through this nightmare alone. The viral footage also highlights the fact that multiple members of his Only the Family collective are locked up right alongside him. That is not just bad news for Durk. It is basically the dismantling of one of Chicago era's most powerful and influential rap movements. A whole generation of artists, cut down at the height of their influence, leaving fans wondering if OTF will ever recover.
This co-conspirator who is unnamed. Check it out, right? This how cold-blooded this unnamed co-conspirator is. Let me show you the power of this unnamed co-conspirator. He offered money. Not only that,
Lil Durk's arrest didn't even happen in isolation. It came as part of a massive federal sweep that also took down 5 of his closest affiliates, all tied to his Only the Family, OTF collective. These weren't random associates. These were his day one soldiers, people who'd been standing in photos, videos, and stages right alongside him. And now, They're all staring down the same life-altering conspiracy charges, with prosecutors hinting at potential life bids if convicted. The most high-profile of them is Kevin London Grant, better known in the streets as VNI. At 28 years old, originally from Chicago but repping Atlanta, VNI wasn't just another hanger-on. He was considered a high-ranking OTF associate, one of Durk's trusted lieutenants. But according to federal paperwork, his role wasn't small-time. They allege he coordinated logistics for what they're calling a murder-for-hire operation.
When Durk gets caught in a shooting with Vaughn in Atlanta, detectives from Chicago travel to Atlanta just to testify in a pretrial hearing just to keep him in jail.
The receipts are ugly: buying ski masks, renting cars, and even supplying straps, including one weapon prosecutors claim was converted into a fully automatic. The most damaging allegation? Grant allegedly used Lil Durk's own credit card to book a hotel room for the crew, and even flew with Durk on a private jet to Los Angeles the day before the shooting went down. That detail ties him directly to Durk in a way prosecutors are going to hammer in court. Right now, Grant's locked in federal custody in Illinois, waiting to be shipped to Los Angeles. Then there's DeAndre Dontrell Wilson, aka DD, age 33, another alleged key player. Prosecutors say he wasn't just holding it down for OTF. He was the financial guy, the one handling bread and travel logistics. According to the feds, he booked one-way flights from Chicago to San Diego for the so-called hit squad, using funds connected back to OTF.
The reason why they did it, they even admitted, the detectives, they said, we've been trying to get this mother. We couldn't get him. Remember, he caught 3 gun kills.
Those one-way tickets paint a chilling picture. Either these men didn't expect to make it home, or they intended to disappear after the mission. Wilson, like Grant, is sitting in Illinois federal custody. Other names tied up in this mess include Boogie, Brownus, and Flacca, each facing their own charges linked to the alleged operation. All of them were scooped in Chicago on October 24th, 2024. And get this, the timing lines up with Durk's own arrest just days later in Florida, when authorities say he was trying to flee the country. It looks like a coordinated takedown, the feds cleaning house, grabbing the alleged shooters first, then snatching the man they believe was calling the shots. And the storm didn't stop there. OTF's legal troubles spread like wildfire into 2025. Multiple affiliates unrelated to the federal conspiracy were picked up in August, deepening the sense that OTF as an organization is under relentless scrutiny.
I don't fear nothing. Chill, deaf. It is what it is, like, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, I got a brain. I know how to move, and I know what not to say.
Take OTF Buna, arrested August 2nd, 2025 in Chicago, slapped with charges of burglary, murder, and even disposing of a body inside a church. Authorities claim it ties back to the brutal killing of Oscar Oz Cruz, who was shot 17 times before his body was allegedly dumped. Though separate from Durk's federal case, this savage crime drags OTF's name back into headlines for all the wrong reasons. Then you've got OTF Bunny Mo, a signed artist and collaborator of Durk, jammed up that same month for cocaine possession with intent to distribute. He's been sitting in custody since and could face serious prison time if convicted. Even OTF's DJ Bands, Durk's official DJ and producer, couldn't escape the crackdown. He got locked in August 2025 too, this time over marijuana possession and a probation violation.
One of the closest motherfuckers to me told me, start rapping. He's a famous artist. So that made me kind of go hard, you know what I'm saying? But when I see Vaughn, I always been Vaughn. Like if Vaughn was gonna be a rapper, a basketball player, football player, Vaughn was always gonna be Vaughn. Like a good-hearted motherfucker. So he like, man, when I go on Breakfast Club.
Reports say it was tied to drugs found during a routine check, violating terms of his prior probation. What's clear is this: OTF isn't IT just dealing with Durk's federal nightmare. It's like the entire crew is collapsing under the weight of constant arrests, indictments, and scrutiny. By May 2025, the walls were already closing in tighter on Lil Durk, but prosecutors managed to hit him with yet another damaging blow. They revealed evidence showing that Durk had violated jail rules by using at least 13 different inmate phone accounts to make calls, some of which involved unauthorized three-way conversations. It might sound small compared to the bigger charges he's facing, but in the eyes of the court, it was devastating. The judge didn't mince words, describing Durk's behavior as showing outright disrespect for the rules.
Showed me like 5 songs. He like, man, this he said all shit weak. And I told him, I'm like, man, this is my favorite song right here.
What's up?
And it's crazy. Crazy story.
Really?
That motherfucker dropped crazy story, started going crazy. We was on tour. We was on tour too. Put him on tour, I started bringing him out. Then Vaughn just became like, if Vaughn was alive right now, he'd be like the biggest in there.
And when the defense pushed for a massive $4.5 million bail package, complete with house arrest, private security, and strict conditions, the prosecution's rebuttal was simple but cold. If Durk can follow basic jail protocols, how can anyone trust him to follow pretrial release terms on the outside? That one violation became a major turning point, undermining his team's strongest argument for release. And it didn't stop there. Those leaked calls turned into a treasure chest for social media. Every word, every slip-up, became content for blogs, Twitter threads, and hip-hop commentators eager to dissect Durk's state of mind. Instead of helping his case, the leaks painted him as reckless, and worse, careless. But that was just a sideshow compared to what prosecutors call their master plan: wires, snitches, and life sentences. This is the foundation of the federal government's case against Lil Durk. Prosecutors allege he orchestrated a murder-for-hire scheme, offering both cash and music industry opportunities to OTF members in exchange for taking out none other than Quando Rondo. According to the feds, this wasn't some spontaneous street beef. It was a calculated multi-state conspiracy involving big money, serious planning, and multiple players working across different cities. The details are chilling. 5 OTF associates allegedly flew from Chicago to Los Angeles using Durk's own credit card for flights and hotel rooms, then attempted the hit using firearms, including one equipped with a machine gun conversion. That level of organization, those resources, it's the kind of operation prosecutors say proves this wasn't just street violence. It was premeditated, structured, and intentional. And the scope of the investigation? Massive.
It's so crazy because Vaughn used to come in the studio and be like, hey, finish this for me. I'll help him out, finish it for him. Then that motherfucker just caught. Like, he just started rapping, started listening to his shit. You be like, damn, alright. Come on, bitch, let's die here. Like that's how he is. He ain't like, what you think? What you think they gonna think? From down my, come on, dad. I'm talking down my head. Go on here, bitch, die your whole head. Ooh, come on, twin, come on. Know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, that's dad. I'm like, fuck, let's do.
Reports say the government has compiled over 200,000 pages of evidence. That includes financial records, travel documents, surveillance footage, and most damaging of all, recordings secretly made by a confidential informant. Allegedly, this informant wore a wire for several years, gathering incriminating conversations from inside OTF itself. But the government's evidence isn't the only thing disturbing people. While Durk's been locked down, his enemies have been circling like vultures. One viral video showed an individual claiming to be an op issuing a chilling threat against Durk's shorties, making it clear this war is personal, ugly, and potentially deadly for everyone involved. It reminded the world that this case isn't just about courtrooms and paperwork. It's about lives hanging in the balance. Now, here's where the whispers hit hardest. In hip-hop circles, everybody's buzzing about the identity of the federal government's star informant. Rumors and street talk point the finger at OTF Jam, a longtime member of Durk's circle who walked out of prison in 2022 after serving a 12-year sentence for attempted murder. Though his name appears all over blogs and Twitter, the government has never officially confirmed it in court documents. For now, the identity remains officially undisclosed. But that doesn't stop the speculation, or the suspicion, that OTF was compromised from the inside all along. The story of this alleged informant adds a whole new layer of betrayal that's got the hip-hop world shook. Back in a resurfaced 2023 interview, OTF Jam actually credited Lil Durk for holding him down during his 12-year stretch. He praised Durk for sending money, checking in, and even shouting him out in lyrics. A public thank you that painted a picture of loyalty and brotherhood. But now, with whispers that Jam may have flipped and cooperated with the feds, that gratitude looks like smoke covering up what could be one of the coldest betrayals in modern rap history. Straight out of the trenches, analysts are breaking down the meaning of this alleged snitch move with surgical detail. Content creator Hood Educated dropped one of the sharpest takes, explaining that the federal government built their case methodically, brick by brick, with the alleged informant as their cornerstone. The strategy? Simple, but devastating. Place someone inside OTF, gather years of recordings, and let the evidence pile up until Durk couldn't run. And the internet's reaction? Relentless. In October 2024, leaked interrogation footage of Jam eating McDonald's during questioning went viral. He glances at the camera and instantly, the memes wrote themselves. Folks joking he traded loyalty for a Big Mac and fries. It sounds like internet humor, but beneath the jokes is something deadly serious. In hip-hop culture, silence when the law comes calling is sacred, a code written in blood. To cooperate with the feds, even for a burger, marks you for life. But the case against Durk doesn't just rest on Quando Rondo. Federal filings and commentary from media voices like DJ Academics suggest the scope of the investigation is massive. Academics, who's followed Durk's legal saga for years, explained that law enforcement's interest isn't new. It's a multi-jurisdictional pursuit that's been targeting him for nearly a decade. According to leaked comments from investigators, they'd been trying to pin something solid on Durk for years. We couldn't get him. Remember, he caught 3 gun cases. Those cases slipped through his fingers, but this time, prosecutors believe they finally have him cornered. Meanwhile, Durk's own words from behind bars paint a complicated picture. In a leaked jail call, he shows both strength and recklessness, bravado in the face of life imprisonment. That toughness has always been part of his brand, the mentality that carried him from the streets of Chicago to global stages. But now, prosecutors argue that same mentality proves their point.
You know, one of my favorite rappers ever was King Von.
Yeah.
You had a great relationship with him, obviously.
Yeah.
Where were you when you got the call?
We was in Houston. We was shooting a video, I think. Yeah.
He was one of the most talented guys on the planet.
Somebody told me if you can copy an artist to be somebody for Halloween, you made it. He had a whole image. You know what I'm saying? And he lived what he lives. What he rapped about, he lived, but he was good-hearted at the same time. So it's like
That Durk never fully left the streets behind. And that mindset is exactly what fueled this alleged conspiracy. On the legal front, Durk's defense team, led by attorney Drew Findling, has been swinging heavy. In April 2025, they filed motions to dismiss, calling the indictment weak, built on misrepresented lyrics, hearsay, and circumstantial connections. They argued prosecutors misled the grand jury, twisting bars into evidence and painting Durk as a mastermind, without a single direct link to the alleged plot. The fight is far from over. But it's an uphill battle against a government that's been stacking ammo for years. A rare glimmer of hope for the defense came in May 2025, when prosecutors quietly filed another superseding indictment, this time stripping out every single reference to Durk's rap lyrics as evidence. It was a significant win, and many legal experts believe the government backed off because using lyrics to prove criminal intent has become a legal minefield. Civil liberties advocates and even some judges have slammed the practice, calling it discriminatory and a direct attack on free expression. For a moment, it looked like Durk's defense team had scored a victory that could shift the momentum. But that celebration didn't last long. Just days later, on May 8, 2025, a judge denied Durk's renewed bail request. The ruling stung because it came right after prosecutors had weakened their case by removing the lyrical evidence. The judge cited Durk's history of violating jail rules, like those unauthorized phone calls, and his attempted international flight as proof that he was both a flight risk and a danger to the community. And that's not all. The prosecution widened their scope, using the case to shine a harsh spotlight on OTF as a whole. They tied Durk, though not charged, to another alleged murder-for-hire plot in Chicago back in December 2024, involving Stefan Mack. Prosecutors even claimed Durk placed bounties on multiple individuals, including a witness's family member. Whether true or not, these allegations painted a chilling pattern, giving weight to their argument that Durk wasn't just a musician. He was the leader of a dangerous network. The timing of his arrest added another layer of suspicion. Federal agents say Durk was actively trying to flee the country when U.S. Customs flagged him on international flights booked to Dubai, Switzerland, and Italy. He was caught near Miami International Airport barely an hour before his Italy flight was scheduled to leave. Prosecutors have hammered that fact in court, framing it as proof of a guilty conscience. Meanwhile, the viral footage of Durk in jail keeps spreading online. Those phone calls and clips show more than just a rapper in trouble. They show a father separated from his kids, a partner cut off from India Royale, and a CEO of a music empire left watching everything he built teeter on collapse. His voice carries the weight of dozens of lives connected to OTF, artists, producers, employees, all of whom face uncertain futures depending on what happens next. The scale of this case is staggering. The mountain of evidence prosecutors claim to hold, combined with the alleged betrayal of longtime associates, makes this one of the most difficult legal fights of Durk's career. Each new filing and leak seems to expand the picture, painting OTF as both a music label and, in the government's words, a criminal enterprise. And that's where the emotional core of the case lies, the blood bond between Lil Durk and King Von. Analysts argue that Durk's alleged choices can't be separated from that brotherhood, a relationship so deep it blurred the lines between loyalty and destruction. To prosecutors, it's motive; to fans, it's tragedy. The viral jail footage doesn't just show a man awaiting trial. It shows someone who might have risked his freedom, his family, and his empire for the memory of a fallen brother. To understand why Lil Durk is sitting in a federal detention center facing the possibility of life without parole, you have to understand the bond he shared with King Von. A bond that started on Chicago's streets and may have fueled one of hip-hop's most devastating revenge plots. What Lil Durk and King Von built together went way beyond typical industry partnerships. It was more than music, more than contracts. In the unforgiving streets of Chicago, it became something closer to blood family. Their bond wasn't just rapper to rapper, it was a mentorship, a brotherhood, and a business partnership all rolled into one. And tragically, it's that very bond that prosecutors now say sits at the center of the federal charges threatening to end Durk's career forever. King Von, real name Davon Daquan Bennett, wasn't just another aspiring artist when he linked with Durk. To the outside world, he was a Chicago rapper on the come-up. But to Durk, he was raw, unfiltered authenticity. Something you couldn't buy, manufacture, or fake. Von had a gift for storytelling, the kind of vivid narratives that turned gritty street experiences into cinematic tales. He painted pictures so sharp that even hardened drill veterans had to pause and respect the talent. Durk has admitted in interviews that when he first heard Von rap, it wasn't some random encounter. It was a deliberate recognition. He heard greatness and knew instantly he had to put his weight behind it. Signing Von wasn't a business move, it was destiny. And once Durk backed him with the full force of OTF, Von's rise was meteoric. But Von's impact stretched way beyond his music. Durk saw in him a reflection of himself, the hunger, the fearlessness, the willingness to be brutally honest about life in the trenches, while still commanding respect as someone who had truly lived it. This wasn't a label project or an industry plant. This was the real deal, straight from the block, with scars to prove it. That's what made their relationship stand out in a game full of fake alliances and paper-thin partnerships. Durk didn't just see Von as an artist to profit from, he saw him as family. His success wasn't separate from Durk's, it was tied together. His well-being wasn't just his own responsibility, it was something Durk felt personally accountable for. That paternal protective instinct became a defining feature of their bond, and, prosecutors allege, it later became a driving force behind the alleged revenge plot. In the studio, their chemistry was undeniable. Von would show up with raw energy, rough ideas scribbled in his phone, stories pulled straight from the blocks of Chicago. Durk would step in, polishing those concepts into finished records without ever stripping away the authenticity that made Von's voice so powerful. It was a creative dynamic where raw street energy met Durk's seasoned vision, a partnership that created some of the most compelling drill records of their generation. Fans could feel it too. Whenever Von and Durk dropped together, the music didn't just sound good, it felt different. It felt like two brothers sharing their story with the world, both carrying the weight of Chicago on their shoulders. But that bond, as powerful as it was, also planted the seeds of tragedy. Because when Von's life was cut short in 2020, it wasn't just a friend or label mate who died, it was family. And for Durk, prosecutors say, that loss lit a fire that would ultimately drag him into the darkest chapter of his life. The collaborative process between Lil Durk and King Von revealed something crucial about their bond. It was never built on hierarchy. Sure, Durk was the established artist with the industry connects, while Von was the newcomer hungry for his shot. But inside the studio, there was mutual respect, freedom, and authenticity, that allowed Von to flourish on his own terms. Durk gave Von the platform, but Von's gift? That was all him. His talent, his raw stories, his unfiltered voice, that couldn't be manufactured. Their connection extended far beyond music. Durk wasn't just teaching him how to record hits. He was showing him how to survive in an industry that can be just as cutthroat and dangerous as the streets they came from. Especially for drill rappers, whose art was tied directly to real-life conflicts and bodies in the ground. Von's rapid rise was no accident. With Durk guiding him, he went from being relatively unknown to one of the most electrifying names in drill. Von's storytelling, matched with Durk's business acumen and network, created a perfect storm. In just months, Von was moving at a pace that should have taken years. But that shine came with shadows. Law enforcement watched closer. Rivals circled tighter. Every bar Von rapped, every move he made, carried weight. Because in Chicago, authenticity doesn't just sell records. It paints targets. That's why the night of November 6, 2020, outside Monaco Hookah Lounge in Atlanta, hit so hard. Von's death wasn't just the loss of a rising star. It was the severing of a bond that defined Durk's career and personal life. To Durk, the call he got in Houston that night was more than bad news. Prosecutors now say it was the moment that set in motion a chain of events that would drag him into a federal nightmare. For Durk, Von's death wasn't just personal. It was a direct attack on everything he stood for. In hip-hop and in the streets, there's an unwritten code. When someone you love is taken in violence, there must be consequences. It's not just about revenge, it's about respect, credibility, survival. Show weakness, and you risk losing everything. And according to prosecutors, that code of loyalty is exactly what drove Durk past the point of grief and straight into conspiracy. They allege Durk didn't channel his pain into music, philanthropy, or lawful justice. He used his money, his reach, and his connections to plan retaliation. A plan they say turned into a murder-for-hire scheme that cost more lives and shattered more families. To the feds, this case isn't just about one beef. It's about how hip-hop loyalty and street codes can spiral into organized criminal conspiracies. And the tragedy? Von's death might have been preventable. What started as a fistfight between Von and rapper Quando Rondo escalated into gunfire. Von was shot multiple times and died of his injuries. Timothy "Lul" Tim Leaks, an associate of Rondo, was initially charged with the murder, until the case was dismissed under Georgia's controversial Stand Your Ground law in October 2023. To Durk and Von's supporters, that dismissal wasn't justice. It was salt in the wound. Prosecutors now argue that this sense of betrayal by the system fueled the alleged revenge plot. Durk's bond with Von embodies both the beauty and the destruction of hip-hop culture. On one hand, it shows the power of mentorship, loyalty, and brotherhood. How an established artist can lift a raw voice from the streets into the spotlight. On the other, it shows how those same codes of loyalty and retaliation can drag everyone down into cycles of violence. As Durk sits in federal detention today, staring down the possibility of life without parole, every leaked phone call, every viral video, is a reminder of what that loyalty has cost him. The bond that made him want to elevate Von's career is the same bond prosecutors say pushed him to risk his empire for revenge. And that's the heartbreak. What should have been a story of triumph. Von's posthumous releases celebrated, Durk carrying the torch, OTF continuing to thrive, has become a cautionary tale. Families torn apart, careers in ruins, communities left grieving, and fans left wondering if the loyalty that built OTF might be the same loyalty that destroyed it. Instead of celebrating the heights of drill's evolution, hip-hop is watching the potential destruction of everything Durk and Von built together. A brotherhood that once symbolized hope, now overshadowed by indictments, betrayals, and the possibility of a lifetime behind bars. And that's where the story lands, in the balance between loyalty and downfall. Lil Durk's fate isn't just about him. It's about a culture, a movement, and a bond that may have burned too bright to survive.